What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing good. Today is a beautiful day. Zack, Mwekassa, the Black Warrior. That's my name. Thank you very much for being here today once more. I'm enjoying you guys. I'm really appreciative of your presence. It's lovely. Thank you for coming together with us to try to reflect and think and move forward together. It's a beautiful thing. We are again today talking about Africa. Africa is our land. Africa is our future. So we need to see what's happening. We're going to watch a video and I'm going to make a comment right after that. Let's go.
We will use our coal. And let me qualify what I mean by that. We have coal-fired power stations. Now, when we transit to clean energy, the just transition, people say we must close down our power stations. We don't have a problem there with that, but we're not going to close them now. We're not going to close them now.
South Africa has been asked to close its coal power station. Why? Because they say it's polluting and creating global warming. And this beautiful gentleman that you see is explaining why South Africa will stand its ground. Let's go.
We are going to close them slowly. So what we're going to do, we are going to check. This one can still give us megawatts, whether it's 1,000. We keep it. We keep it. If it needs to be fixed, we fix it. So that we get the necessary electricity that we need to power our own economy. Not that we are resisting to go where everybody's going, but I said when I was addressing business people on Friday last week that we can't be expected to transition in the dark. We can't do that. Yes, we are going there, but we can't transition in the dark. So we have power stations that we can still use. Let's use them. But there's something else we can do. Those who are worried that we want to pollute, let me tell you what we can do. I read that recently Japan said they introduced for their coal a technology for what they call clean technology for coal.
Clean technology for coal. Oh, interesting. Just keep that in mind. Clean technology for coal. They are fighting coal, but Japan apparently has a clean technology for coal. I'll explain why. Let's go.
I actually saw that technology in China as well. So it's there. So as we use our coal-fired power stations, we can mitigate pollution through this technology. Rather than running away and say, valane, 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 valane. So we're not going to close. We will close slowly, at our own pace.
We will close slowly at our own pace. So, fellas, for those of you who don't know, South Africa is going through a very difficult time when it comes to energy. Load shedding, a lot of people are going many hours, sometimes sleeping over with no electricity, which is very inconvenient. Very, very difficult time for a developing country. I know in some areas in Africa that happens quite a lot. It's not a big deal. I understand that. But we need to take into consideration that South Africa itself is a different sort of country, when it comes to industry and stuff. So people are going through a very difficult time. It's a very interesting time. I think it's the beginning of winter in the cold and it's not easy at all. Now, what is the goal? One of the reasons at least is they want to close down coal plants for energy because as you know, I don't know if you remember, a while back, they sat together. When I say they, I'm talking about Western countries sat together and decided that there is global warming. And the reason why there is global warming is because people are using too much gas stuff. People are burning things. The use of certain things is creating a lot of gas. And this gas is influencing the temperature of the world. And that's the reason why we have tsunamis, we have earthquakes and forest burning, the ice melting, and so many other things. Therefore, the solution to propose is, you know what? You need to cut down on those stuff, cut down on emission, cut down on production in order to bring the world back to where it's supposed to be. Now, obviously, South Africa being one African country, as well as some other countries that are not necessarily privileged, are living today the consequences of the choices that some people have made in the past. Now, keeping in consideration the fact that out of 100 production of gas, Africa has only produced 2%. Okay? Africa is responsible for 2% of whatever damage that's been done to the world, according to experts. Their own expert say only 2% come from Africa. So the other 98% come from other countries, the Western countries, with industrialization, with big companies, obviously with aviation, armed companies, missile, all that creates global warming. But they haven't mentioned anything about that. They're making mention about Africa stopping to produce because of global warming. Now, the pressure being put on South Africa is they're trying to get them to accelerate the shift from the current type of energy to green energy. I don't know if you know, but green energy is not very easy to achieve. You cannot expect a country to move immediately from where they are to where you want them to be in the blink of an eye. It doesn't work that way. Like he said, we cannot move from this type of energy that we're working on right now to the new sort of energy in the dark. So are you expecting people to go through this in the dark? Okay, let's get back to the ground. We're not going to get into the technicalities of things, okay? In the past month, they've put a lot of pressure on African countries, asking them to shift from whichever way they want them to function. They even say that from 2030, they will not accept product from Africa that they deem influence global warming. They will not accept exportation of products coming from Africa that they deem issued from global warming production. So they mention cocoa from Ivory Coast and Ghana. They mention coffee from Ethiopia and many other products. When you cut out cocoa from Ghana and Ivory Coast, what do you think they're going to do? How are they going to survive? How do you expect them to survive? I mean, it's like I'm just coming to your house and I'm cutting away the best thing that you have. Say it's not valid because it's creating global warming. While you know I'm trying to use that to develop my country, you just can come, as you please and say, you know what, from now on, your cocoa is not valid because it's producing too much gas. Now, if you want to produce your cocoa, you need to buy technology coming from us, which is, again, remember, safe coal, safe energy. So in other words, we deem your products invalid. We're going to create a technology that we're going to sell to you before you use in order for you to use your product and sell it to the market. Do you see where we're going? So we have used gas, we've used petrol, we've used oil, we've used so many other things, coal, to develop Europe. We've used all that stuff to develop the United States of America. But now that you Africans have decided to be clever enough to try use the same thing to develop Africa, now we're going to say it's illegal because it creates global warming. How do you explain that, fellas? Africa is only responsible for 2% of the global warming issue, situation, emission of gas, whatever you want to call it. Only 2% from Africa. Is that fair? Is that the world you want us to live in? And I'm very pleased by this South African politician who's very strong, saying we're going to move towards where you want us to go, but at our own pace. We're going to choose our own pace. Don't force us to go at your pace, okay? We're not responsible for the global warming. Let's face it. It's only 2% from Africa. So they don't want the cocoa from Ivory Coast, the cocoa from Ghana in the future, 2030. They don't want the coffee from Ethiopia that produce the biggest amount of money from their export because they deem it's not legal. It creates global warming. But in the meantime, we can see arms companies still functioning properly with no issue, no difficulty. Sending weapons to Ukraine with no issue. Raytheon is still working. Boeing is still working. Yes, Boeing creates weapons. For those of you who don't know, aviation is still working. They're creating the most pollution and the most global warming effects possible. So again, okay, the bottom line is if you're not winning from whatever you're winning, we're going to do everything we can so you don't win. That's what it is. If we're winning with you, we're winning the most parts, that's okay. If we're not winning from what you're winning, it's going to be illegal. As a reminder, in Germany, just a while back, Germany has opened up its coal center, its coal production once more. Yes, you got that right. Germany is restarting another coal-fired reserve power plant next week as the country tries to save up its gas supply for the coming winter. The Aden plant, Peterscheigen near Hanover in northern Germany, is scheduled to return into service from August 29 until the end of April. Operators Uniper said on Monday. With a capacity of 875 megawatts, Aden is one of the most powerful coal-fired power plants in Germany. It started operation in 1987. So these people are asking Africans to close their coal power center because it's creating gas and global warming. In the meantime, in Germany, they're destroying a full village to create a coal power plant with the same technology. How do you explain that? So there's a rule for African and a rule for us. That is unacceptable, fellas. I mean, the reason why Germany has to get back into coal is because obviously, if you remember, Germany received a lot of gas and many other means of energy coming from Russia. And then suddenly they decided to destroy the pipelines and you know what happened next? So Germany could not get any gas from Russia anymore. Now they have to go back to coal. Whose fault is it? Now, if they have to go back to coal production, why do they have the rights to ask African countries to not do the same? Advancing the reason that it is destroying the fauna and the flora, it is creating global warming and all that stuff. I don't think this is okay. Well, you tell me what you think. I want to know what you think about this. Before we close, look at this video. You can see here, even though South Africa is not allowed to use coal for its own energy, they can export coal to foreign countries, to Western countries. So Western countries say you cannot use it for yourself, but sell it to us. We're going to use it for our company. Look at all these trucks. Look at all these trucks. Exporting coal. Unacceptable. Thank you very much for being with us, fellas. If you felt something about this and you want to join us, feel free to do so we can grow our communities together. And I hope to speak to you again very soon. God bless.